Hello, welcome to Reframing Mindset Podcast. We are clear my head of the thoughts that are preventing clarity, practice my speech, among other things. Episodes range from informative knowledge to funny stories about my experiences, and in the future, maybe include interviews. So subscribe and enjoy. Episodes drop every other day. Okay, welcome back to Reframe Mindset Podcast. My name is Constant. In this episode, I talk about some lessons. One of the lessons that got from my grandmother that it just starting to make sense now, and it kind of makes sense when I actually got removed from the department for the company, and it was something I if you realize when going through that experience, actually, I was actually having somewhat a similar thing in my mind, but when I got removed from the department, it just clicked to me, and it just basically makes sense. And what happened was that she would have a saying was that she's a very religious person, so she said something like, but she would say something like, uh, she would do something like join a church because anything that you can join, it can break off. And what basically would be, basically what going through that experience at the work kind of made me understand was that you can't attach yourself to something that is not really yours, in a sense that you know my grandma is a person that loves God, but is not a person that okay need to go to church every day to validate, you know, to to validate that okay I love God. You don't, that's basically that was it. You don't need to. If you actually love God, you actually taking the effort to actually invest in the things to learn more about God, like buying the Bible, learning about the things. So when you're going there now, so what happens is that if you attach yourself to one denomination or type of company or something like that, say, okay, boom, I am going to be this thing. You may miss out on different experiences and perspectives. And then what happens is that that perspective may shift your bond, your thinking, may shift your thinking, and be like, okay, it shifts your thinking and brings you back to actually go back and study and learn more about it. And when you do that now, you refine your skills. You refine your skills because one of the thing about why there's a lot of division in a lot of religions and stuff is because you have something simple like Christianity that have so many different religions, different denominations, I should say. So you have the Seventh Day Adventist, Holiness, Roman Catholic, Anglican, and all those. And all of them have somewhat the same stuff like a God, the one God. They would say, okay, yes, we all believe in the one God, but they all have a certain different interpretation to it. But if you actually believe in a religion, there is one basic thing. There's one basic theme about it. And the thing about it is that you you have to actually go in there, go in the Bible and read and learn from yourself to learn what is that answer. What is that answer? So I can't tell you to say, okay, this is the answer and stuff like that. Because I have to learn it for myself to actually do it, to actually what basically what my grandmother did was introduce me to her path, what she have learned. But what with her gone, what I realize is that I have to actually take the active steps. I can't go to a church and be like, okay, because I go to this church every day, I I am going to basically go to heaven due to the fact. if I don't go there and actually take the time to read the book, on so that's the thing that I realize, in the sense that with the company, when I was removed from the company, when I was actually doing the work, and then boom, I got this opportunity to do a work within my field. If I actually was not removed from the company, you would hear multiple episodes of me now speaking about how I'm actually going progressing through this phase of the work, of this new work. But but because and then because I would actually be going through, I may be actually caught in the trap of saying, okay, I'm just gonna stay here for a lot longer period than I should have, where basically I could actually do something else to actually increase something more about myself. Increase something more about myself. But the fact that I was so what happened, so basically what I'm saying is that if I was a person that basically say I I was grateful for the fact that I got the work at that company, because I was having so much trouble getting that job. So when I got the job, I put in the effort to actually do my best on the work, best on the work. But if you repeatedly mention the work is not the company is not loyal to you. It's loyal to the profit and all those stuff. So when it fires you and stuff like that, it can't be mad, because what they're focusing is on the bottom line. It's not your thing. So basically, what that lesson that I learned from my girl when it comes to church in realize to business, what I realized is that if you're an employee, it's good to actually go. You have to go there with your mindset of your own goals, but be aware, because once you're an employee, once you join the company, you can be removed from it. You can be removed from it, unless it's something that you own, and you realize in a lot of things in life, when you go through life, live long enough, you realize that there's lots of things you don't own. Because with my grandmother passing, everything that she came in and again, she just basically left it all to someone else. So that was a lesson that I learned from her as well, where you gain all these stuff, but in the end, you're basically going out the way you came out. They came out. You learn that. I learned that real time. But this is another lesson that basically makes sense now, where you have to have a goal, other than say, okay, I want to do work at this dream company. Or it's good to be like, yes, I want to work at a dream company, but understand that, yes, don't praise the company. Don't praise the company. Praise have understanding of something else. Like I don't I would go in and say, okay, yes, I got my dream science job, and because this job hired me, I'm praising this job or stuff like that. No, I have a passion. I always say, okay, I have a passion of science. I'm grateful for the opportunity that this company hired me, and I would actually take the opportunity to actually learn all I can from this company. But understand that, this company can drop me off if I'm not performing well. So if I get the opportunity, and then I'm not performing well, and they release me, I'll be bitter if I I'll be bitter if I approach it with a different mindset. Or I could be like, okay, I'm grateful for the fact that I actually get to experience what this thing is like. Just like, oh, I would say, okay, I will get to experience what the Anglican belief is compared to a different belief. And then what happens is that over time, because I said you have a long, if something like faith, my grandma lived a lot of years. You have a lot of years to actually understand your faith. So you can go to different denomination of your religion or church to see the different perspectives, and then maybe by you as it by your 40 be like, okay, I have a solid understand me, I have a solid understanding for myself of these basic things, and then boom, you'll be like, okay, I join I would be more associated with this church. But it would not be like, okay, I'm associated with the church as a church thing. It's just that, okay, I believe in God, I believe in God and enjoy and but I understand that the church is a place to congregate, to actually congregate and do the common thing and praise God. So based on the convenience of this and this type of celebration that this church does, I would actually go there and enjoy it and be incorporated there. But one of the next part of the lesson will be that in churches and things like that, you have there can be infighting, and just like a company, you can have ego building when you want position and stuff like that. There's no difference. Humans are humans. Humans are not perfect. Infighting and envy is in churches and religions. So it's not something. It's not something you'll be like, okay, I'm a Christian and boom, I'm perfect. No, you're basically a human with human tendency, envy, hate, all those stuff can be thing, and that is another thing can basically throw you off your religion. You can be like, okay, because of all this hate and envy and all those stuff, all these people committing these sins in this church, and then you're there nothing is happening, then I basically turn away from the faith. No, that would be actually a wrong way to do it as well. You actually say, okay, I'm learning the faith for myself. And while those people, if you reach a perspective where you'll be like, okay, you want to actually explain that if it's best to show by example. So when you see, the when they see the changes in your life through the knowledge of your faith, and you come into church, you're living envy and hate and stuff like that, and you live in the lifestyle and you're not bothered by it. Your lifestyle can just basically change at least one or two people in that church be like, okay, you know what? I usually think I like this, but let me just talk to this person in the church, and then boom, they interact with you. And then through that perspective, now you basically get a different perspective. They get a different perspective on the religion and be like, okay, you know, I usually be very angry and envious, but now I think about it that way now, so I'm a changed person. So because you focus on the faith itself and not the church, you can actually go into the church and actually influence people that may be on the wrong path to go to the right path. Just like in a company, you can go in there and a lot of corrupt corrupt things could be going on in the company, but you have good morals. Going there can actually change the company direction just by you applying good morals. That's how you have to really think. So basically, that's a really important lesson that I've learned that I understand now, where you can't attach yourself to a building or a company or stuff like that. You have to attach yourself to a principle, our morals, our values. Those are things that we basically you can principle, morals, and values. That is something that you can have that won't that you can't that can't be taken away. It can't be taken away. You can basically unlearn a value or change a value or stuff like that. But they can't just come in and say, okay, I'm going to remove you from this value or stuff like that. No, once you have that value now, then you can basically do that. What will happen? So yeah, that's basically for this episode. It's one of those things that basically it's not a conversion episode. I just want to actually get you to think about life differently. It just one of those perspectives where I'll be like, okay, I see that. So I just apply it in my life differently. So that's basically it for this episode. Thank you for listening. I look forward for the next episode. Mhm.
Well, this is the end of the episode. Thanks for watching and look forward for the next episode. To support this podcast, go to anchor.fm/cssb/support or become a sponsor for this episode. If you have a product that you want to have more exposure, DM me on the Instagram page, Reframing Mindset Podcast, or on Twitter at ReframingP. Either way would help. Thank you regardless for listening, and here's a preview for the next episode.